Hey guys, it's me again. Just popping in for my tri-monthly visit. Is it tri-monthly? Would that be once every 3 months or 3 times a month? Because I definitely don't make videos 3 times a month. Ignore that. Who cares? Because today I'm here to talk about something that I've grown to love over the past few months, like a lot more than I would ever have expected to. And that's wrestling. I don't know quite how it happened, but at some point I just started to really enjoy wrestling. I was just watching it and I just got really into it. But up until this point I've basically only watched WWE. And that's not a dig on the other promotions or anything, I just found WWE easiest to get into because everyone speaks English and I don't know, does stuff in a very Western way. But it's also the one that people shit on the most, so I thought maybe I would try out some other promotions and see how it was. So I watched New Japan Pro Wrestling for the first time over these last 3 days. I watched the last 3 days of the G1 Climax. That's a tournament in New Japan Pro Wrestling that basically serves to decide who will main event Wrestle Kingdom, which is like their WrestleMania or their biggest event of the year. Basically, this video is just going to be my reactions as someone who has never watched New Japan Pro Wrestling before and has never really seen wrestling outside of WWE and Lucha Underground. But let's see how it goes. And first things first, I really loved the tournament format of it. I thought it was really interesting because it was presented overall, like everything about it was presented as a sport instead of being kind of like WWE where it feels kind of like a TV show. It felt like a sport. It was like, we're having this match, and everything about it was kind of set up in a way so the early matches have shorter time limits because they're just like pre-match, pre-big match stuff that's just kind of there for people to hype people up. And then I liked that as a whole, the timeout thing, and like the having a time limit on matches, because it added a lot of drama. And as we saw in the G1 Climax, where a match actually ran out of time, basically screwing over the 2 people in the match and causing kind of a surprise because they wrestled 30 minutes without deciding a winner. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was an interesting thing, and it just felt very sporty in how, I don't know, just simple things like how the ring is set up and how it looks like it has like logos and stuff on it, but in a very, I could imagine seeing that in the Olympics. So yeah, I really liked how they presented it as a sport and how it was a tournament where there was stakes behind the tournament. It wasn't like King of the Ring where it's just, oh, you get to be king. It had an actual, you are fighting to get to this thing, and you get loads of cool matches because of it, because all these people who maybe don't fight very often, I wouldn't know, but maybe these people you haven't seen fight and have a really cool match. I also found it interesting, there was no like backstage stuff like you would have at WWE, where I know the bosses would be backstage talking about, oh well, we're not gonna hire this guy or whatever. It was all just in the ring, and if people would give promos, they would either give them in the ring, or at the end of the last day there was a press conference style where it was like being interviewed, which I thought was really cool and really interesting because it felt very off the cuff and very real, and once again really like you're watching a real sport. Because just because you know wrestling's fake doesn't mean it isn't really, really fun to like pretend it's not. Like, I feel like the most interesting stuff WWE did in the past few months was the stuff surrounding the brand split, where they were kind of treating it like a real thing, where they were like analysing it and who's picking who and all this sort of stuff. And I think that sort of stuff's really interesting, and I really enjoyed seeing it in New Japan and getting to pretend I watched an actual sport instead of people play fighting. But there was also some stuff I didn't really care for. One of those things was there were so many tag matches. The first half of the card on each of the 3 days I watched were just tag matches, which they weren't bad. There were some really good ones in there, in fact, but at the same time it was kind of just like, have 4 or 5 tag matches before we get to what you care for, whereas in WWE it would be more like, here's an important match, here's a championship or something, and then here's a couple of like nothing matches, maybe a tag match or a feud or whatever, and then here's another big match. And like I get what they're doing, where it starts on the like least interesting stuff and works its way up, but at the same time it kind of left the first half feeling a bit okay, I'm seeing like cool wrestling, and I'm seeing some stories being set up, like the Pro Wrestling Noah versus New Japan stuff, which I don't really understand. How is Pro Wrestling Noah a different promotion? Do they sort of work with New Japan? I'm going to get a bit more into this later, where I'm kind of confused by how these things work, but yeah. And I liked, I did really like Okada and Marufuji being on the same team, and then Okada being like, but I don't like you and we have to sort this out. Which was cool, and I'm looking forward to whenever that match happens, because what I did see of those two guys, they seemed really good. I liked the in-ring work overall. I thought it looks really smooth. There were lots of really smooth wrestlers in there who, the strikes look really like painful, and there's a lot of cool countering and like rolling through to one move to the next and all that sort of stuff, and I thought it was really cool and fun to watch. Like, you can just sit and watch a New Japan match and it's just constant flow and constant just stiff hits, and it feels real. They also don't have as many like pauses, where WWE they'll often be like a good half a minute where people are just lying on the ground or whatever, like they're selling. And that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, because I felt the New Japan matches moved a lot quicker and a lot more fluidly than WWE matches, but at the same time, some of those moments in WWE matches where people are just lying on the floor or whatever really get you drawn into the emotion of the match. Like a great one is in Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn from Battleground, where Sami Zayn is like just cradling Kevin Owens for a little while before he hits him with the second Luva kick, and you really feel like friendship and loss and all this great emotional stuff in a silly wrestling match. But at the same time, I did really like the in-ring work, and maybe I just didn't see any matches where that sort of stuff happened, because this was all like tournament stuff, so maybe if I'm watching for longer I'll see more stuff like that. I thought it was interesting. I vaguely knew that they had some sort of like partnership with Ring of Honor, but I find it really interesting that the Ring of Honor title was defended on a New Japan show. But at the same time, it was kind of like, well, they're not going to have the New Japan show get a title change, so this match kind of feels pointless. And it was an okay match. I was kind of like, okay, I watched this match with Jay Lethal, who I do really like. I like Jay Lethal. I saw him in What Culture Pro Wrestling against El Ligero, and I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really good match, and he's a good wrestler, but once again it was like, oh, the title's not going to change hands. I know Jay Lethal's going to win, and it was kind of like a decent match, but I was never tense. I was never like, oh, who's going to win? Which is a big part of why I enjoy wrestling. I enjoy the tension. I enjoy when you don't know who's going to win, which I'll talk about later with a couple of the matches. I wanted to note the English commentary, because I thought they were really good. Like, one of them was a bit annoying at times. There were a bunch of women at ringside who was hitting on for most of a match, which I thought was a bit annoying. Like, it was funny for the first bit, but he kept going back to it, and it was kind of like, you need to stop going back to the bit at some point. But they were also really good and really got me sort of into the matches and filled me in on stuff, and very informative. Like the match Hiroshi Tenzan versus Okada. Is it Okada? Sanada. I wrote it wrong in my notes, sorry. Hiroshi Tenzan versus Sanada, where they kind of filled me in on the fact that Tenzan is like he's an older guy and he wants to sort of prove himself by beating Sanada, who's a younger up-and-coming guy. And I thought that was interesting, and I was glad that they were there to inform me of that sort of stuff, which the commentary in WWE often doesn't do, where you don't learn that kind of stuff and you don't get the emotional context and the motivations behind why these wrestlers are doing certain things. So yeah, I enjoyed that. But also, yeah, sometimes they were kind of doing bits that weren't funny. I liked the crowd as a whole. I thought Japanese crowds I've heard are very quiet, and then they're sort of loud at the right moments, and I thought this was definitely an example of that. They're sort of, when the actual sequences of counters and strikes and all this sort of stuff are going on, they're quiet, except when it's like a yes, no chant, like, you know, striking. I don't know what that spot's called, when they're like slapping each other or punching each other, and it's like yay, no, yay, no. But outside of that, they were very much just like, and they would just clap. There was no like, I know I don't speak Japanese, so there might have been, but there wasn't a lot of chanting as far as I could tell, which really annoys me in WWE when they're, especially like what chants or something, or just chants where they're heckling the wrestlers, like you fucked up, that sort of thing. I find that really annoying. Like, I don't mind if you chant zero at Ty Dillinger. I really like that, because he's a heel and you're supposed to rile him up and you're supposed to annoy him. But if you're doing what chants while he's doing a promo, I don't know. I guess it's the same sort of thing, but they're just annoying, and it feels like you're not adding to the product, you're just interrupting it. So yeah, I like the crowd. I found it really interesting. It seems like they're split into 3 major factions. I didn't catch all. I know there's Bullet Club. I didn't catch the other ones' names. Chaos and Ill something. I didn't quite catch that one, but I found it really interesting that they have factions, and lots of people are aligned with factions. Like, every match, or every other match, it felt like someone would be like, well, this guy's in this faction, and this guy's in this faction, or these guys are in the same faction. And I thought that was really cool, because those guys would fight each other. Like, you wouldn't just have them not fight. Like, there was a match where 2 Bullet Club guys had a match, and they would, and one of them was like laying down for the other one, but then he was like, no, I'm actually going to prove myself by beating you, even though it will cost you your shot at winning this tournament. Which I thought, that's a cool story for a match to have, where these guys are on the same side, and there's kind of tension between them, because at the end of the day, he doesn't want to sacrifice his. It was Tamatonga versus I want to say Fale. I'm not certain. Let me look that up a second. I'm doing a lot of looking up. I don't want to get stuff wrong. I feel like I would really just embarrass myself. It was yeah, this is a great show. I'm so great at. Yeah, it was Bad Luck Fale versus Tamatonga, who wasn't like the best match in terms of great like great movesets and that sort of stuff, but there was a good story there, and I think that got me into it a lot. Like, I was kind of like, I like it that this guy is gonna try and screw over his partner just to prove himself. So yeah, I liked that faction thing as a whole. I think that's really cool. Like, WWE, I feel like they don't really do much with factions, where, I know, like, I feel like the Wyatts, or the Shield or whatever, like, the Shield I guess, but the Wyatts not so much, where the factions feel dominant and feel like a big part of the show and a big part of the sort of stories being told. So that was cool. I guess for the last part of this video, I'll just talk about some of my favourite matches that I saw. Bear in mind, I only saw the last 3 days, and I heard there were a lot of great matches that I'm going to try and watch from before that, like if I can find them and that sort of thing. So, of the ones I saw, as I mentioned before, Hiroshi Tenzan versus Sanada. I've got Okada in my notes and it's screwing with me. And I thought that was a cool match just because I liked the story aspect of it, where I was rooting for Tenzan, because I was like, I want this guy to prove himself, even though he can't win. I just want him, I support him, and I felt that was a really simple story. It stood by itself completely. I didn't need to know anything else about the show or anything previously. I just needed that. I liked the Togi Makabe versus Tomohiro Ishii, I'm just going to call him Ishii, match where they just beat the fuck out of each other. They're just like a couple of big guys just slapping each other and just full on, painful looking, stiff shots. I know Ishii was also in a match with, I want to say Okada, which was rated 5 stars by Meltzer. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it because I really liked that guy. He was the Stone Pitbull. I thought he was really cool. Please tell me I'm not wrong about I also enjoyed Evil versus Katsuyori Shibata. That's simple. I just liked how Evil was like, he couldn't win, but he could spoil someone else winning. And I just really liked that angle. I liked that story being told there, and I thought it was a nice match. I also like Evil. He's like some weird Undertaker thing, where he comes out with like a... what's it called? The thing, you know, the Grim Reaper thing. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna edit myself in saying it. So yeah, that was cool. I really liked that. My favourite match that I saw, and easily one of my favourite matches of the year. This one I actually saw live. I didn't see day 17 live. I saw day 18 and 19 live. But this match was brilliant and one of my favourites of the year, I want to say. Like, as of now. Kenny Omega versus Tetsuya Naito. I love Kenny Omega. Like, I saw him in 2 matches and I fell in love. He's brilliant. I like the cleaner thing, even though he didn't play it up too much. I'd heard he was a very comedy-oriented wrestler, so this really surprised me, these 2 matches. But so much good in this match. I really loved the whole match. He's selling his knee injury, and it's so simple, but I love it so much when they go for a move and, oh no, my knee hurts, I can't do the move. It's so simple, but so perfect. I really loved the spot where he had the guy up for the powerbomb, and it looked like he was going to powerbomb him on the edge of the ring, but instead he powerbombed him over the barricade and into one of the announce tables. The English announce table, which I thought was really funny as well, because of course it's like the secondary table in a Japanese promotion. And then of course he can get the cheap win, and this is what sold me on him and made me support him. He does a springboard jump from the ropes over the barricade to hit Naito, and it was absurd. I was pretty sure he died. I genuinely thought for a second, oh, he hit his head on the barricade and died. But just a great spot and a great moment in the match, and really you're just like, oh, but he's like he's a heel, but he's honourable and he wants to win the match the proper way. And I really like his finisher, the winged angel. I think that's really cool. So really love that match. Just really tense. Like, really got me supporting him, and I was really like just into it, and I was just ready for... I was just fully behind him, and I was... Every pinfall attempt, I was just fully, like, hand on heart, ready for him to lose. And I liked how, as soon as he won the match, everyone's cheering him, because he put on a great performance, and he's like, fuck you guys, you only cheer me now because I won. And I thought that was really good. And then, from the next day, Kenny Omega versus Hiroki Goto. And, like, once again, Kenny Omega was great. Like, not to undersell Naito and Goto's, like, in these matches, they were both really good. But, just Kenny Omega was brilliant. He really got me behind him. I liked how he had everyone supporting him, but he was just raking people's eyes and stuff anyway. I just thought that was really funny, and I liked that through the whole show that I saw, actually, all 3 of them. Like, there weren't as much face and heel dynamics. Like, there was a lot more... These guys are both heels, like, especially Omega versus Naito. They're both acting heelish. Like, Nato's not breaking holds straight away. Omega's... I don't remember how much he did heelish in that match, but I assume he did something. But throughout all these matches, I really liked how... There were guys you support and guys you didn't support, but at the same time, it didn't feel so simple and so... Well, this guy's the good guy, and this guy's the bad guy, and you have to support the good guy, and you can't support the bad guy, so cheer for Roman Reigns and boo Triple H, even though Triple H is awesome, and he comes up with a love jacket and beats up Roman Reigns, who you hate, because, let's face it, he sucks. I actually like Roman Reigns. I'm not talking about WWE, I'm sorry, I feel like it's a good comparison, where I felt like I wasn't being forced to cheer for anyone I didn't want to cheer. And I also loved, in that last match, I got slightly off track there, I really loved the Bloody Sunday, Styles Clash, One Winged Angel, all the Bullet Club aces or leaders or however they do it in Bullet Club. Just a full-on tribute to them, brilliant stuff, and got the pin. I was fully behind him, I was very excited, and just loved his after-match promo where he refused to wave the New Japan flag and waved the Bullet Club flag, and then he was getting interviewed afterwards. I didn't understand the questions, but I really enjoyed the answers. He's a very funny, charismatic guy. There was one someone asked him about, he did a Last Ride Powerbomb, which is apparently a move of someone else who he has never beaten, I want to say. I learned this from Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt. But he did a Last Ride Powerbomb and then a Phoenix Splash, which Kenny Omega reminds me a lot of Seth Rollins, and every time he's on the mic you want to boo him, but every time he's in a ring you want to cheer him. Which I like. I like that character, and I feel like they played it a lot better in New Japan, where you felt like you could cheer him. And then he gets asked about it and he's like, just like, no comment. I don't want to talk about it. It's really funny stuff. So yeah, that was my first real New Japan experience. I saw Okada versus Shinsuke Nakamura from Wrestle Kingdom 9. But that was pretty much anything I'd ever seen of New Japan before this, and I really enjoyed it. Of course it wasn't perfect, but nothing is, and I really love how it's presented as a sport. It was presented more in a, this is real, don't, like, take it seriously, but there's fun, crazy stuff in it. And, just some brilliant matches, some brilliant in-ring work, and I would highly recommend, at least check out, if you don't speak Japanese, at least check out the last 3 days with English commentary if you can, because it's lots of good stuff. And I personally felt like I was never confused. I don't know if that would be true for everyone, but I always kind of felt like I knew what was going on. I knew, and I always had someone I was like, yeah, I support you. And I'm very excited. I'm going to keep up with New Japan from now on, and I'm very excited about the future. So thanks for watching. I'm not going to promise when my next video is going to be, because that's a road to disaster. Let's just say in the future you may see me, but you may not. Also, just a slight update on me for fun. I got a new microphone. My last one broke. That's part of why I didn't make videos for a few weeks. I was also just working solid, just tired as hell, but this is my last week of work. After that I'm going to be trying to make more stuff, and I've got this beautiful blue microphone. Blue, I want to say Snowball. I can't remember what it's called, but I think the sound quality is really good. I'm really looking forward to using it to make more stuff, and being able to make stuff where I can, have other people on the show. That's something I really wanted to do, because I don't think I'm charismatic enough, but I just talked for 24 minutes. That doesn't matter, it's fine. We're all having a good time here. I hope you enjoyed the video, and, like and subscribe and all that stuff, and go check out New Japan G1 Climax days 17, 18, 19, and the rest of it probably, because I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. And maybe I'll do more stuff like this where I talk about New Japan, and I also want to try and get into Ring of Honor. I know they're doing a show next week. Of course, I'm going to try and talk about WWE, because SummerSlam is just around the corner, and I have a lot of opinions on the brand split and everything about it. For those of you wondering where are the comic book videos, I am going to try. I've kind of fallen out of comics for a while. I've had some not only money issues, but also issues with the output of Marvel and the stuff they are trying to sell us. I have some issues with Civil War 2, and I would very much like to air at some point. But I also have been reading some DC, and Rebirth is brilliant, and so I'm going to try and do more stuff, just more stuff in general, but more DC stuff. Like, highlight some stuff I really enjoyed. And also, I want to focus more, I've said this before, but I don't want to focus so much on new books, because I don't think I have much to say about them. I'd prefer to do more reviews of old stuff. I prefer to do more stuff like my Civil War review, where it's just probably off the cuff like this, where I just discuss an old book, either good or bad, and just express my opinion. But aiming to do a bunch of stuff. I want to get a full-time wrestling podcast with a wrestling friend of mine. Well, a friend of mine who is into wrestling. A wrestling friend of mine. That sounds really weird. But, yeah, I'll see you all soon. I hope you enjoyed the video. I already said like and subscribe, and, that's it. Oh, and if you want to check out the G1 Climax, it's available on New Japan World, which is really hard to subscribe to because it's all in Japanese. But there's guides out there. Go for it.